This episode is brought to you by Simple Mobile. Tired of being tied down with a wireless contract? Switch to Simple Mobile and stay connected on a powerful, nationwide 5G network. Unlimited talk, text, and data starts at $30 a month with no contracts, activation fees, or credit checks. Visit simplemobile.com today. Out with the old, in with the simple. Compatible 5G capable device and SIM required. Actual availability, coverage, and speed may vary. 5G network not available in all areas. 1 month equals 30 days. See terms and conditions at simplemobile.com.
Empire.
Welcome to the latest edition of All's Caps with former Capitals defenseman Karl and our AP hockey writer Steve Wino. This is our first, playoff edition, Karl. It's the Florida Panthers against the Capitals. Game 1 on Tuesday in Sunrise. Your favorite arena to play in, as we all know. Your initial thoughts on Caps Panthers.
Yeah, I mean, I think we kind of saw the writing on the wall for a while now. So, although there was hope that there was going to be maybe a little bit of a shift right at the very end and have a new opponent, this kind of seemed like it was going to happen for quite some time. So, I guess not all that surprising. But you know, I guess technically the toughest matchup in the playoffs, if you look at it. The Panthers have been solid all season long, although they were, a bit of a weird one last night. 10-2. There's been a couple high-scoring games recently, but it's going to be a tough matchup. Even though Sunrise isn't the most exciting place to play, and there's not the most hostility in that crowd, it's still a difficult place in terms of
the opponent,
everything else.
Yeah,
everything else that's going on there, right? And one of the other things too is I don't know, I haven't asked, but depending on where they stay too, right? So if they stay in Sunrise, there's not much around there. There's a mall, and you don't really want to be walking around a ton. In between games and stuff, you want to move around a bit, but you're also trying to save your legs. So there's not a ton going on in Sunrise. And then if they stay in Fort Lauderdale, obviously it's Fort Lauderdale. It's nice, and they're across from the beach, and there's it's a good place to kind of get your mind off things and just sit outside for a bit and relax. But then you got bus rides, and the bus ride from Fort Lauderdale to Sunrise can be brutal.
That traffic sucks. Yeah.
Oh man, I had it happen one time where I left on the first bus, so I would have left at 4:00, and then the second bus that leaves around 4:30 passed us on the highway because they had a police escort, and so we ended up having to try and get in behind that bus, and we got there at the exact same time. It was just after 5:00, which normally it's like a 5:00 cutoff for a game. Like, you're never there any later than that. And so you just have weird little things like that you have to deal with when you get a little bit further away. So I'm not sure where they're going to stay, but it's just one of the weird extra things that you don't typically have to consider in the playoffs, but you do when you're staying in a place like that.
So I've heard they're staying closer to Sunrise than Fort Lauderdale.
Okay, so that makes sense. Less travel day of the game, but there's just not a whole lot going on. So
fewer distractions from Peter Laviolette's standpoint.
Yes, exactly. It makes sense. The guys are probably going to stay in their room and play video games like they normally do, or cards and stuff on the day off that they have. Maybe for me, I was always the kind of guy that wanted to walk around a little bit. Don't overdo it, but I wanted to get moving and not stay cooped up in the room. So the guys will find stuff, but it's all part of the way that you deal with your playoffs and in your mind and your body. So I don't know how the majority of that team is, but my sense is that there's a lot of video games.
Yeah, you're in Florida right now, right?
I'm in Florida right now. Yeah, I'm reconnaissance mission against the Panthers. See what they're up to. No, I'm actually in Destin, Florida. It's my first time here, and we actually got a bit of a rainy, cloudy day today, so we're just kind of taking it easy, doing some puzzles. But yeah, I'm down south. Nice place.
Well, okay, you mentioned like the kind of walking around or whatever. An off day in the playoffs. Let's say like after game 1 and they have the day off game 2. They don't skate. They got meetings in the morning. Would you play golf? Like, are guys going to go play golf, or is that something you worry about, like screwing yourself up by kind of getting out of getting either getting injured or getting your mind too far off hockey?
Yeah, no, that would be something that the Black Aces would do. So the Black Aces are the guys that are the scratches, for anyone who doesn't know. That's something that they would do. Like, playoffs for them is unless you're like the next guy up, it's a pretty fun time. They enjoy the cities. Their skates are usually pretty fun. Like, they work hard, but they're not getting too demolished, and they're having a good time playing some games amongst each other. And then, yeah, they enjoy the cities when they're out there. So that's something that they would do. The players, you don't. Well, I've never played in a place like Florida full time, like as a Panther, or as a Tampa Bay Lightning. So I don't know if those guys would go out and maybe hit balls or something at the range.
Right.
It's the playoffs are, if you go to the end, 2 months long. You can sacrifice anything for 2 months, right? I would go in the backyard and swing a club around. I remember doing that, but otherwise, yeah, you're pretty focused on what's going on. Save that for in between series if you want. But then guys are also superstitious. They don't want to break out the golf clubs in the playoffs for bad juju.
Yeah, and not a whole lot of black aces because the Hershey Bears are in the Calder Cup playoffs. That'll have to wait till later in the playoffs. When we come back on All's Caps, Karl and I will talk about how the Capitals got here, which is not great, limping into the playoffs with 4 consecutive losses.
This episode is brought to you by HP. When you're working apart from your team, feeling connected can be a challenge. Presenting HP Presence, a more thoughtful, human collaboration technology. With enhanced audio and video features, you can experience more genuine collaboration and feel more connected. Be in the room from any room with HP Presence. Learn more at hp.com/presence.
This episode is brought to you by State Farm. There are some monthly expenses you just can't get away from, like insurance. You might be looking at your expenses thinking you're going to have to pause on your DIY project, stop collecting vinyl, or even give up your daily coffee fix to have great insurance. Talk about a nightmare. It's a good thing State Farm knows everyone has a budget, and they have a range of options, like insuring your ride and your home with surprisingly great rates on both. With State Farm, you can also personalize your policy, so you get the coverage you need at a price that lets you keep up with your projects, add to your vinyl collection, and continue to enjoy your coffee habits. So forget about giving up what you love to have great insurance. For surprisingly great rates, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Call or go to statefarm.com for a quote today.
Welcome back to All's Caps. It's the Florida Panthers episode here with former Capitals defenseman Karl Alsner live from Florida on his reconnaissance mission. I'm API Carter Steve Wino, actually out at Commander's training facility on day 3 of the NFL draft here. Empire Media's Bram Weinstein, who does this podcast. John Keim is outside, kind of double dipping here, kind of doing some hockey and some football. Listen to John Keim's Commanders podcast, also on Empire Media. But this is a Capitals podcast, and the Capitals haven't looked too hot lately, Karl. 4 losses in a row going into the playoffs. I know Alex Ovechkin didn't play in 3 of them, but this is a little... How alarmed are you by kind of this team laying an egg in 2 games that were not must-wins, but if you wanted to avoid the Panthers and play the Rangers, probably should have shown up and performed in those games?
What everybody always says, you want to go into the playoffs riding a high, and that's the ideal world. Yeah, you go in and you're hot and everybody's feeling good, you're scoring goals, this and that, healthy. That just wasn't the case, and so what they got to do is they got to dig a little deeper and find a way to snap out of that and make sure everybody's, I guess, bringing their best, because it's going to be necessary against Florida. And I know they have. We were talking about it before. Ekblad's banged up, which is not good for them. He really drives that back end, so that helps. They're going to have to work on, I'm sure, in their pre-scout, figuring out who they're going to go after now when they have an opportunity to, when you have the team you're playing to have their best defenseman out, then you're going to find some ways to exploit the other guys. But this is not it's not ideal, but it's what they got going on, and hopefully Ovi's back in time and feeling good, and he can light a bit of a spark under these guys, and they'll start out hot. But it's going to be an interesting series. It's we said it too. We didn't really watch a ton of the last couple games because
the NFL draft was going on too, and the Capitals didn't make it worth watching for a lot of people.
Yeah.
But
that too.
Yeah.
And I tried to turn on the game. I didn't have it here, so I couldn't even tune in if I wanted to.
We got to get you ESPN Plus.
It's whatever. It's the end of the season. Yeah, well, I have that back home. But just here, it was all NFL. I think NFL draft was on 5 different channels, and not a single hockey game was on. So I was forced to watch the NFL draft with some of those amazing Las Vegas style suits that they had going on, and some of those absolutely monster human beings like that. I've never watched an NFL draft before, and I watched the first like 6 or 7 picks, and it was pretty entertaining. So it kind of took my mind off of watching hockey.
You mentioned the Panthers and Ekblad, but even with Ekblad out, this is a blue line with Gustav Forsling, Mackenzie Weegar, Ben Sherratt, Brandon Montour, Robert Haig, Radko Gudas, who got hurt the other night but might be back, Peteria Limbaum. Even without Aaron Ekblad, this team is deep. This is a team that can go Giroux, Barkov, Verhaeghe, Huberdeau, Bennett, Duclair, Reinhart, Lundell, Achari. The Panthers are ridiculously deep.
Oh yeah, they are. They have like 3 first lines that are not only good offensively but can play defensively as well. That decor is so solid. Just it's kind of what you're hoping for. Like that, it seems like a playoff decor, right? Like even without Ekblad, just guys that can play the game, play it the right way, play tough when they need to play tough. And it's going to be it's still a tough matchup, against the Caps, because they are a bit of a pretty gritty team with guys that like to throw the weight around and play hard in the corners. But a guy like Ben Sherratt's a big boy himself, and he can handle a guy like like Tom coming to the front of the net and get a little mean and nasty when he has to. So it's a team that's built for it. For them, we'll see how their goaltending is. It can be amazing, but it can be also very spotty too. So it's probably going to be a case of shoot a ton of pucks and hope that you're going to get some that leak through and create a little bit of havoc in front of the net. So that's it's just a tough matchup. That is the reason why they finished first and they set a record for scoring the most goals, because they have so many different options, so many different weapons.
Yeah, and Alex Ovechkin's health obviously is the big question now. He was skating in New York the other day, still not kind of cleared, but we got to expect he's going to play in game 1, right? Even if he's not 100%.
Yeah, you would think so. I don't think that there's an opportunity to wait and see. Take too many games off and hope that you get better and you're just kind of tied in the series. It's just not. You can't start off slow, pretty much. So I think he's going to probably play. It's the same thing when they won the cup, right? It's the team goes the way that Ovi and Kuzi go. If they come out and they're flying and they play well, then the team follows and they have success. So I think that's going to be the driving factor behind how long this series goes and then how deep the team goes.
And you mentioned the Panthers goaltending. Sergei Bobrovsky figures to start. We could see Spencer Knight. When we come back on All's Caps, Karl and I will talk about what it will take for the Capitals to win this series and kind of the Capitals' own goaltending questions, which is one of many teams around the NHL playoffs with some issues in net.
This episode is brought to you by the first ever Toyota Corolla Cross.
All right, everyone, load up.
What are we listening to?
How about hip-hop?
Yeah.
Love it.
Nice.
What are we gonna eat?
I'm thinking tacos?
Yeah,
Definitely.
Yeah. And where exactly are we going?
The beach?
Perfect.
Surf's up.
I'm thinking yes.
Love it.
When everything just feels right, that's the first ever Toyota Corolla Cross. Available with all-wheel drive, expansive cargo space, a stylish exterior, and more. Learn more at Toyota.com.
This episode is brought to you by Shell V-Power Nitro Plus Premium Gasoline. Do you think all premium fuels are the same? Well, your engine doesn't. Shell V-Power Nitro Plus helps keep your engine running like new because it's engineered to defend against 4 main engine threats: gunk, wear, corrosion, and friction. So next time, choose Shell's most advanced fuel ever. It's fuel for thought in engines that continuously use Shell V-Power Nitro Plus Premium Gasoline.
Welcome back to All's Caps. I'm AP hockey writer Steve Weiner with former Capitals defenseman Karl Alzner. The question that you and I have been talking about goaltending for months now. Brian McClellan did not find a trade partner at the deadline to get another goaltender in here. So it's Ilya Samsonov or Vitek Vanacek. If it's your call, who do you think should start game 1 and who do you think will start game 1 in net?
Well, for me, I've kind of always been more of a Vanacek guy than I have Samsonov. I just feel like there's maybe a little bit more reliability there. I think Samsonov can steal a game for you, though, so I think that's a viable option. But if it's me, I'm going with Vitek. I mean, I don't know if you feel that same that same, I guess, sense of security with him, that he's just a little bit more stable. But that's kind of the way I feel.
I think the way I see this is you need to steal a game. And I think Samsonov is more mentally fragile, that if he's not your game one starter, it's harder to go to him. I think Ilya Samsonov, I think Vitek will start game one because I think he is Laviolette's guy, and I think Laviolette and Scott Murray agree with you. My theory on this is you start Samsonov in game one and hope you get good Sammy. And if you get bad Sammy and you lose game one, you turn to your solid, stable Vanacek. Because if you're on the road, and you've been in plenty of playoff series, when you start on the road, you just want to steal one of the first two games.
Yeah, that's a good point. And Sammy does have that option, that ability to get out there and absolutely dominate a game. You've seen some of the saves he makes that you don't understand how he makes them. He's super athletic, and it could even be one of those Russian versus Russian goalie matchups where he wants to really prove something. So it's definitely a good option as well. And yeah, if the coaching staff knows that Vitek's better at coming in, after a game or two off, and they think Sammy is, needs it for his confidence to be the starter at the beginning, then yeah, I mean you go for that. That's that's a bit of the chess match, the mental chess match that the coaches have to figure out with the players that they have. So I mean it's the way it's been all season long. It's you ride the hot hand, and whoever they think the guy is right now, just go for it and see what happens. I don't think that one has too much of an edge over the other.
No, and Peter Laviolette did do this in 2006 when he won the Stanley Cup with the Carolina Hurricanes, turning to Cam Ward after Martin Gerber won a Stanley Cup. 2010 with Philadelphia, he had injuries with Brian Boucher and Michael Layton, so he's used to doing this. I think we both agree, like if the Capitals don't get good goaltending, they don't win this series. So setting that aside and saying they need stable goaltending, what else do the Capitals need to do to beat the President's Trophy winning Florida Panthers?
Well, they need to play with energy. They need like we talked about recently, especially just what their identity is, right? Like, don't go run and gun with the Florida Panthers. That's not the type of Capitals team that it is right now. It's a try and grind them out, ground and pound. It's got to be. And it's so funny because I love that when you're watching all the highlights and they cut the clips of everyone saying pucks in deep, but that is the playoff identity for teams. The pucks need to be in there, and you need to start working there deep. You need them to play in their in Florida's D zone, and continue to pressure them all game long. And it's an investment, right? It's don't worry about scoring right away. Score on the power play if you get the power play, and otherwise, you just start picking away and wear them down, because they're hoping for a long playoff run, right? So they probably would like to see a bit of an easier series, especially in the first round. And if you can catch them thinking about round 2 and round 3 without them getting out of round 1, then you might be able to take advantage of them there.
Yeah, and it is cliche, but like there is something to be said about dictating the game and taking something out of a run and gun team, because that's how this team won the Stanley Cup, is kind of grinding down opponents over the course of a series. And when you have a team, the Panthers have been in the playoffs before, but this is not a team that's won in the playoffs. The Panthers haven't won a playoff series since 1996 when they went to the Stanley Cup final. So Claude Giroux is there. He's done that. Ben Sherratt's been part of a team that's gone to a Stanley Cup final, but there's something to be said for grinding down a less experienced opponent, and that's, I think, how this team has to win.
Well, yeah, and so the Florida Panthers also are used to scoring 4 goals a game all season long, right? So if you can keep the puck out of those guys' hands, out of their players' hands that are expecting to score goals, expecting to have chances and puck possession, then that gets frustrating, right? It doesn't matter that it's the playoffs, and they're still going to expect to have some of that. And so if you can continue to, every time you get it, the puck goes back in deep. You have 5 guys in the picture. The forwards are coming back over top to help the defenseman out. Then that gets frustrating. That really does. And want them to get going at all during this series, and so that's kind of the way that it has to be done. And it's just so happens that it kind of plays into the identity of the Caps. They also have the ability to get going and score some goals. So I think that it's a bit of a twofold there. It's the long game. You're gonna need to invest in it, and then when you have those opportunities, you need to explode. You need to explode with some offense, and the Caps have that ability.
Yeah, well, it's the most wonderful time of the year. I hope everybody enjoys this playoff series. Thanks for listening on All's Caps. We'll talk to you guys after Game 1.